It's 1933 in Berlin, and the air buzzes with uneasy hope. Crowds gather as Adolf Hitler steps out to claim power, not as some distant, unshakable tyrant, but as an unlikely underdog who somehow has outmaneuvered Germany's elite. How did this uncharismatic ex-soldier rise from obscurity to command a nation, and the world's darkest hour? That's the mystery Ian Kershaw unpacks with surgical precision. Hitler wasn't the obvious choice. After WWI, Germany was a playground for extremists. So how did this awkward, failed artist become the voice that rallied millions? Before power, Hitler was a shadow in Vienna, an obscure, rejected painter with delusions of grandeur. Then WWI hits. He volunteers, fights in the trenches, and narrowly escapes death multiple times. This wartime experience forged his identity, searing a mix of nationalism and bitterness that would fuel his speeches. Think of Hitler as a director staging a performance. He rehearsed every gesture, every roar of anger. His speeches exploded like fireworks, tailored to ignite emotion, terror, pride, fury. It wasn't raw passion, but a carefully choreographed spectacle that hypnotized audiences hungry for meaning amid post-war despair. Chaos was his secret weapon. The Weimar Republic was weak, riddled with economic crises and political infighting. Hitler stepped into this mess like a storm, offering simple answers and scapegoats. People weren't just voting for a man, they were desperate for order, and Hitler spun their fears into his fuel. Hitler didn't overthrow a simple dictatorship. He seized control of a complex modern state. How did he bypass Germany's powerful elites and constitutional checks so effortlessly? In 1933, democracy was stumbling badly. Germany's traditional elites, the army, industrialists, and conservatives, feared communism more than Hitler. They thought they could control him. When President Hindenburg appointed Hitler chancellor, these men chose restraint over resistance, hoping to use Hitler as a tool, not realizing he was dismantling their grip. Hitler didn't storm the castle by destroying laws. Instead, he twisted them like rubber bands. The Enabling Act passed in March 1933 gave him legal dictatorial powers without overthrowing the Constitution. This suave legalism masked a deeper revolution, power through edicts, emergency decrees, and terror, all dressed in official robes. Hitler positioned himself as a living chaos that none could predict or control. Ministers and generals reported to him anxiously, never knowing if their decisions would delight or enrage him. This unpredictable center paralyzed Germany's institutions, concentrating power in his singular, volatile will, the heart of Nazi control. Was Hitler a puppet master pulling every string, or a figurehead letting others call shots? Kershaw dives into the personal role Hitler played in shaping Nazi policies and the war. Ian Kershaw reveals Hitler as the ultimate micromanager. Despite his chaotic persona, Hitler personally reviewed everything from military strategies to cultural programs. In 1941, he even designed troop deployments himself, overriding generals repeatedly, driven by his own gut and ideological obsession rather than professional counsel. Rather than detailed plans or rational debate, Hitler's policy-making was often a mood-driven process. His decisions flipped based on his temperament, like a king whose whims dictated whole populations' fates. This unpredictability created power vacuums where subordinates fought fiercely to align with what they guessed he'd want. By the war's end, the notion Hitler controlled every Nazi decision fell apart. His health declined, and trusted aides filtered or altered information. Far from omnipotent, Hitler sometimes barely grasped battlefield realities, proving that even dictatorships depend heavily on their systems, not just the man at the top. Remember that 1933 moment when Hitler walked onto the stage, an awkward outsider now the axis of a collapsing world. Kershaw's portrait shows us power isn't just about force or laws, it's about performance, unpredictability, and exploiting cracks in society's armor. Next time you see chaos in politics or business, ask, who's the Hitler turning disorder into control? Try spotting the performance behind the power. Subscribe for more book summaries like this one.